Have you ever wondered what would happen if you were transported to another world for 17 years and then came back to your original world? How would you react to the changes in the culture shock? Will you use the magic abilities that you learnt in the other world? Well, that's exactly what happened to this random uncle, the protagonist of Isekai Ojisan, also known as Uncle from Another World, one of my favourite comedy fantasy isekai anime. In this video, I'll be giving you my opinion on why Isekai Ojisan is one of the best isekai anime out there, and how it stands out from the rest. I'll also be sharing some of the funniest moments and scenes from the anime and discussing some characters and themes that make it so enjoyable. And if you haven't watched it yet, don't worry, I'll try to avoid major spoilers as much as possible. I'll also explore Yosuke Shibazaki, the uncle, and I'll show you why he is so different and funny compared to other isekai protagonists. Isekai Ojisan is a parody of the popular isekai genre. This anime makes fun of the common tropes and cliches of isekai stories, such as overpowered protagonists, harem situations, game-like mechanics, and fan service. It also contrasts Uncle's experiences in the other world with his reactions to modern technology and culture, such as smartphones, social media, video games, and anime, which is fun to see. As I mentioned before, isekai anime are very popular and there are a lot of them out there, but not all of them are good or original. In fact, some of them are downright terrible and boring, like Conception. Straightforwardly, it's a waste of time and brain cells, one of the worst anime that I've ever watched. Of course, there are numerous other anime I could bring up, but they're all so bad that I don't even need to talk about them. Now I've given you my opinion on some of the isekai anime, I want you to focus on the main topic of this video, Isekai Ojisan. As I said before, this anime is one of the best isekai anime out there, and how it stands out from the rest. But why is that? What makes it so different and funny compared to other isekai anime? Well, I think one of the reasons is that Isekai Ojisan is brave to completely annihilate the isekai genre and choose to stand out. It does not follow the typical formula of a young and handsome protagonist who gets transported to another world with fantasy elements and becomes a hero or villain. Instead, it follows an uncle who looks like an orc and has a very unattractive face. He was transported to another world where he was treated poorly by the people and had to erase his own memories several times to cope with the trauma and loneliness. Okay, Isekai Ojisan is not the only anime that gives an unattractive face to its protagonist. There's also Moonlight Fantasy, where the protagonist gets rejected by the goddess of another world because of his ugly appearance and gets sent to the most dangerous place in that world. However, Moonlight Fantasy still follows the usual isekai tropes of having an overpowered protagonist who builds a harem and saves the world. Isekai Ojisan does not necessarily do that. It goes in a completely different direction and makes the protagonist more realistic and human. He does not have a grand goal or mission in the other world, he just wants to survive and go back to his old world. He is oblivious to romance and does not even realize when girls are interested in him, or when he accidentally does something perverted. He does not have any special power or skill in the other world, he just uses his wits and his love of Sega games and consoles to fight and learn magic. Oh yeah, Sega for life. He does not care about politics or conflicts of the other world, he just wants to avoid trouble and make some friends. He does not have any enemies or rivals in the other world, he just wants to get along with everyone and help them if he can. There are no secrets or mysteries in the other world because he just tells everything he knows to his nephew and his viewers. He is not a hero or a villain, he's not a survivor or a loser, he's not a genius or a fool. Well, maybe he is a fool. He's just an uncle from another world. And that's what makes him so hilarious and refreshing. But enough about Uncle, what about the other characters and aspects of Isekai Ojisan? Well, let me give you a bit of a summary of Isekai Ojisan and introduce some of them to you. The story of Isekai Ojisan begins when Takafumi Takeoka's uncle, Yusuke Shibazaki, wakes up from a 17-year coma after being hit by a truck. He reveals that he actually was transported to another world called Grand Bahamal at that time, where he learned magic and had many adventures. Takafumi decides to let his uncle live with him and help him adjust to modern society, while also making money from his uncle's magic abilities by creating a YouTube channel. Although the anime is good, at least for me, there are still people who don't like it, to the point where they hate it. One of the biggest cons for the anime is the delay problem. The last episode of the anime was originally scheduled to air from December to February, with 13 episodes in total. However, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the production of the anime was affected and delayed. The first 12 episodes aired as planned, but the 13th was postponed. This caused a lot of disappointment among the fans and viewers who were eagerly waiting for the conclusion of the anime. The delay also made it so that the anime lost its hype and momentum, as many people forgot about it or lost interest in it. Another con for the anime is the animation quality. The anime was produced by Atelier Pont d'Arc, which is a relatively new and inexperienced studio that was founded in 2020. The studio has only worked on 2 other anime before Isekai Ojisan, Ganbare Doki-chan and its Blu-ray version. Oh well, I guess that doesn't really count. Still, the animation quality of each Isekai Ojisan isn't bad, but it's not great either. It's decent and fair, and it's not impressive or astounding, although it's notable because of the colouring and expressions. But despite these cons, I still think that Isekai Ojisan is a great anime that deserves more recognition and appreciation, and one of the main reasons for how it's actually funny. Yes, Isekai Ojisan is a comedy anime that makes you laugh out loud with its witty and hilarious jokes and gags. It's not a typical comedy anime that relies on slapstick humor or sexual innuendos. It's a comedy anime that uses satire and parody to poke fun at the isekai genre and its tropes. Another reason why Isekai Ojisan is so funny is the fish-out-of-water humor that arises from Uncle's attempts to adapt to modern society after being transported to a magical world for 17 years. Takafumi has to bring Uncle up to speed on everything that's happened during his absence, including the internet, new technology, even the outcome of the 90s console war, which was particularly upsetting for a die-hard Sega fan. With Uncle's wisdom and his experience in the other world, they grow their YouTube channel and tackle online comments and trolls. The life of this uncle-nephew duo promises to be anything but ordinary. Another source of comedy in Isekai Ojisan is the contrast between Uncle's unattractive appearance and the beautiful girls he meets in the other world. One of them is Elf, a tsundere elf who initially hates Uncle for being so orc-like, but gradually develops feelings for him after he saves her from a dragon. Elf is a typical tsundere who acts cold and hostile towards Uncle, but secretly cares for him and gets jealous when he interacts with other girls. She can be annoying to some people, and even to me at times, but overall she's just really good at being tsundere. She often tries to confess her love to Uncle, but he is completely oblivious and dense. He also has no interest in romance and only sees Elf as a friend. Elf's frustration and embarrassment is hilarious to watch, especially when she uses her magic to create various situations to get closer to Uncle, only to have them backfire or be ignored. She often has a rivalry with Mabel, a princess from the other world who falls in love with Uncle. The two girls often compete for Uncle's attention and affection, but he remains clueless and indifferent. Elf's character is a parody of the common isekai trope of having a harem of beautiful girls who fall in love with the protagonist for no apparent reason. She also represents the fantasy of having a cute and loyal elf girlfriend, which is often seen in otaku culture. But instead of trying to make it like a real romance and try to give it depth that it doesn't deserve, they just poke fun at her the entire time. If you're a fan of isekai like ReZero, The Familiar of Zero, or No Game No Life, you'll definitely enjoy Isekai Uncle's witty and hilarious takes on the genre. It's a must-watch for anyone who loves comedy and fantasy. On a personal note, one of the funniest moments was when the tsundere elf's name was revealed. Yes, it made me laugh out loud, not just in my monologue. It's pretty classic, but I do still fall for it. The comedic timing and delivery of this scene was spot on. However, right after the reveal, the tone of the scene shifted and it was no longer comedic. I found this transition to be quite impressive. Finally, I want to talk about the main character of Isekai Ojisan, the uncle himself. He's likely one of the most unconventional and hilarious isekai protagonists I've ever seen, if not the most. Unlike most isekai heroes who are either overpowered self-inserts or wish fulfillment fantasies, Uncle is a subversion of all those tropes. He is unattractive, uninterested, and unlucky. He looks like an orc and is constantly mistreated by the people from the other world. He has no desire for romance or adventure and just wants to live a peaceful life. He suffers from bad luck and misfortune that often puts him in danger or humiliation. He also has a very unique personality that makes him stand out from other isekai heroes. He is cynical, sarcastic, and blunt. He doesn't care about the rules or expectations of the other world and just acts on his own whims. He also has a lot of knowledge and wisdom from his experiences in the other world in his past life as a gamer and otaku. He uses his magic and skills creatively and effectively, often surprising his enemies and allies alike. He also has a lot of humor and charm that makes him likable and relatable. He makes fun of himself and others, often breaking the fourth wall or referencing other anime or games. He has a soft spot for his nephew Takafumi and his friends, showing him kindness. Uncle is a breath of fresh air in the isekai genre as he challenges and parodies the common cliches and tropes that we often see. He's not your typical hero, but he's definitely one of the most entertaining and memorable ones. So what makes Uncle so different and funny compared to those isekai protagonists? Well, let's take a look at some of the common traits that most isekai heroes share. They're often given some cheat ability or power that makes them stronger than anyone else in the world. They can learn new skills and magic easily or gain access to rare items or weapons. They're usually involved in some type of quest or mission to save the world from some evil force or threat. They can also influence the politics or culture of the new world with their modern knowledge and values. Now let's see how Uncle differs from these traits. He doesn't have any cheat ability or power that makes him stronger than anyone else in the new world. Let me explain. Uncle may seem overpowered, however his power isn't actually his own. This might be a little bit of a spoiler, but his power comes from the spirits who lend it to him. Sometimes he's seen talking to himself, but he's actually communicating with a spirit in exchange for that power. One of the funniest moments is the reveal of how Uncle was summoned by a Chinese Google Translate voice that granted his wish without him even noticing to communicate with everyone, including spirits. This allowed him to become somewhat overpowered. And anyways, the final contrasting trait of Uncle compared to other isekai protagonists is his lack of a quest or mission to defend or do anything in the new world against an evil force or threat. He just wants to live a peaceful life in the new world without getting involved in any trouble. He also doesn't influence the politics or culture of the new world with his modern knowledge, and he only uses them for his own convenience or entertainment. Anyways, I was actually planning for this video to be a little bit longer, but now seeing that it's already 10 minutes, and I feel like there's only so much I can really talk about with this anime, I'll just leave it at that. If you guys have any ideas on what you want me to talk about, then leave them in the comments, I guess, because I don't know, man. I'll just look around and see what videos I can make, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.